Hey, so you mentioned wanting to support your niece, right? She's grieving right now.
Mm.
And I think this piece, 5 tips for guiding your child through grief, has some really, really great advice. I think we can dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's tough for sure, but these tips, they're a really good place to start.
Yeah, for sure. So tip number 1 is honesty and clarity, which, like, on the surface seems pretty simple, but I'm guessing it's, like, way more nuanced than just being like, well, so-and-so is gone.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's more about like finding that balance. Being honest, but also using language that a kid can actually understand at their level. It's interesting actually. Studies show that children who like really understand death, a clear, concrete understanding, they actually adjust better in the long run compared to kids who are shielded from it, which kind of surprising, right?
Yeah, that is. Wow. So then how do you tailor that language for different ages? Like a 5-year-old is so different from a teenager.
Huge difference, yeah. With little kids, you got to keep it simple and concrete. So instead of saying like passed away, which can be confusing for them, you might say grandma's body stopped working. Direct. But with teenagers, you can have those bigger conversations about the permanence of death, maybe even touch on spiritual beliefs if that's part of your lives.
Makes sense. So, okay, we talked about honesty, but what about helping kids actually like express those feelings? That's where tip 2 comes in, right?
Right.
Encouraging emotional expression.
Exactly. This one really hit home for me because it shows just how differently kids grieve compared to us, as adults. A child might show grief through anger, or they might withdraw, become quiet. Heck, they might even seem like nothing happened at all, but inside, it's a lot. They might act out or like regress a little. It's important to remember that there's no one right way to grieve, especially for kids.
So true. It makes me think about, oh, this is tough. When my nephew was like acting up after his grandfather died, we all kind of just thought he was being difficult. Looking back, though, that was grief.
Exactly. We have to validate those feelings,
Yeah.
no judgment. That lets them work through their grief in a healthy way, which leads into tip 3, actually.
Routine.
Yep. Routines might seem basic, but when a kid's world is upside down, those everyday things, they offer normalcy, stability, it's grounding.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, if everything feels out of control, at least you know what time dinner is or when you're going to bed.
Exactly. And it's not just like being organized, though that helps. It actually goes deeper. It ties back to attachment theory, that need for security.
Right.
When a child experiences loss, that security is shaken. So familiar routines, they actually reinforce that secure attachment, even when everything else feels chaotic.
Wow, I never thought of it like that. It's
Mm.
not just about them knowing what to expect, but about meeting a deeper need, emotional need,
Yeah, exactly.
which I guess kind of leads into tip 4, right? Comfort and reassurance. It's got to be more than just saying the right words.
Oh, for sure. While words are powerful, so is touch, physical touch, quality time, just being present with them. A hug, holding their hand, or even just sitting quietly with them, that speaks volumes, sometimes more than words can.
Right. It's about that nonverbal communication. And I feel like that's even more important for kids because they might not have the words to express what they're going through.
You're spot on. Sometimes the most powerful thing is just being there, just being present.
And lastly, we have tip number 5, seeking professional help. It's tricky, but framing it not as a failure, but as, like, recognizing when a child needs that extra support. That's huge.
It can be tough for people to accept, though. Like they should be able to handle it themselves. But the truth is, if a child's grief is really impacting them, like their daily life, their schoolwork, their friendships, then it might be time to explore therapy.
Do you have advice on even like how to start that conversation, talking to a kid about therapy?
Keep it simple. You could say something like, hey, I've noticed you've been having a hard time. Would you be open to talking to someone who helps kids with big feelings? They're really good at that.
Yeah, I like that. It's not about fixing them, it's giving them tools to cope.
Exactly.
So we're wrapping up here, and I want to bring it back to you and your niece. Thinking about these tips, what's one small but meaningful thing you can do today to support her?
Honestly, even just a long hug, or maybe creating a memory box together, with pictures and things, or even just asking her, how are you feeling today? And really listening. Even small gestures can be so powerful.
That's so true. And remember, you don't need to have all the answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes just being there, letting her know she's not alone, that's everything.